In secret psychological training files, there's a rule that is not written, but it's ingrained in the mind of everyone who learns how to unnerve opponents. If they try to provoke you, burn their nerves and dismantle them from within. Do you sometimes feel targeted for no reason, as if your very presence annoys some people? Do you feel that someone deliberately tries to embarrass you in front of others? Or test your nerves with silly comments, strange looks, mocking tones, or questions asked with malicious intent just to distract or provoke you? Have you been in a situation where you were calm, then suddenly everything changed because of a small word or action, and you exploded only to regret it later because you fell into a trap? If you answered yes, you're not suffering from an anger problem. It's something deeper. You're in the crosshairs of a hidden psychological war without even knowing it. In this video, I won't give you superficial advice like, calm down and take a deep breath. Instead, I'll reveal secrets taught in closed rooms for confronting the most dangerous types of provocation, using a method that makes the other person wish they had never opened their mouth. You'll discover that provocation was never a weakness, but a hidden weapon for those who know how to use it. And you'll see how the moment they intended to embarrass you turns into a moment of confusion in their minds that they will never forget. But to succeed, you must stay with me until the end, because what you're about to see isn't just clever responses to provocation, but secrets used in closed rooms to instill gravitas and dismantle the opponent from within without raising your voice. Are you ready? Let's begin. The story of Ethan and his discovery of the most dangerous psychological trick against provocation. Ethan was a calm young man who disliked problems, fled from conflicts, and avoided anything that might create tension or confrontation. He believed that kindness and respect for others were enough to protect him. But over time, he discovered the bitter truth. The calmer he was, the bolder those around him became. There was a certain type of person who excelled at playing a hidden game called provocation. They wouldn't shout or directly engage in conflict, but they'd throw subtle words loaded with heavy meanings. They'd laugh while mocking, give condescending glances, and speak in a calm tone that pierced dignity like a needle. Ethan went through all of this, at work, in his family, even among those who called themselves friends. He would try to stay silent, but they interpreted his silence as weakness. And if he did respond, he'd do so angrily, with disorganized words full of emotion, then leave the situation feeling like he was the one who had made a mistake. Every time he returned home, the scene of the provocation would replay in his mind repeatedly, and he'd wish he had controlled his temper, or said something stronger, or said nothing at all. He was tired of the regret, tired of always feeling on the defensive, tired of being treated as if he were the weaker one, just because he disliked confrontation. One night after a humiliating incident at work, Ethan sat in front of his computer, searching for an explanation for what was happening to him. He wasn't looking for a motivational video or traditional advice. He was searching for something real, deep, something that resembled what he felt. As he scrolled through old pages in rare psychological articles, he stumbled upon a translated document from a Cold War archive titled Methods of Psychological Control Without Direct Confrontation. He read the first lines and felt as if someone had written it about him. But what truly changed him was a single line written at the end of the document, like a key to understanding everything. If they try to provoke you, don't respond in their way. Instead, take them to a battlefield where they can't play and let them suffocate there. Then burn their nerves and dismantle them from within without raising your voice. Only then did Ethan understand that what he was experiencing wasn't just annoying situations, but a hidden psychological war with invisible rules, which he was capable of learning. And from that night on, Ethan began to see the world differently. Not everything changed at once, but he began to understand the game. He started noticing words spoken in a calm tone that carried a stab, seeing smiles that hid disdain, and sensing how some tried to draw out his reaction little by little until he exploded. But he was no longer the young man who fell into the trap. At first it wasn't easy. His body still reacted, but his mind began to slow down time. When something provoking was said to him, he would pause, not to respond but to understand. Was this just a joke, a test, or an attempt to play a psychological game? He started seeing beyond the words, And the clearer he saw, the harder he became to penetrate. But he didn't stop at understanding. He began to train himself on the rule he had read. A simple but dangerous rule. The response isn't to react, but to move the battle to a field you control. And every time he left a provocative situation, maintaining his gravitas without uttering an extra word, he felt like he was building a new wall around himself, a wall of silent gravitas that people couldn't see but could feel. Strategy 1. Cold ambiguity. In the document Ethan found, there was a paragraph titled Intentional Ambiguity. Ethan read it repeatedly and felt that it wasn't just information, but a silent weapon. The rule written in bold script stated, "The clearer you are in your responses, the easier you are to provoke. But when you keep your expressions ambiguous and your intentions unclear, others' minds begin to get confused." In his first experiment with this rule, Ethan was in a small work meeting. Everyone was talking, laughing, commenting. Then suddenly someone directed a remark at him in a sly tone, a tone that seemed like a joke but was pure provocation underneath. Eyes turned to him, a few light chuckles erupted, and all eyes waited for his reaction. But Ethan didn't move. He didn't smile. He didn't change his expression. He showed neither annoyance nor pleasure. All he did was look at the speaker with a calm, steady gaze, then slowly shifted his eyes away, as if what was said wasn't even worth a reply. A moment of silence hung over the place. The one who had made the remark continued his laughter alone, but no one joined him. It was the kind of silence that isn't understood, isn't explained, but it terrifies. Ethan was no longer the young man who was pulled onto someone else's turf. He was now the one creating the ground on which the psychological game was played. From that moment, others began to look at him differently. Why does this strategy work? Because provocation is built on reaction. The other person doesn't want to physically harm you. They want to inject a feeling into you to see you fluster, get angry, or try to defend yourself. But when you don't show anything and your face becomes a blank page, the opponent begins to get confused. Their mind can't stand a vacuum, so it starts making guesses. Did he ignore me? Did he mock me? Did he understand what I meant? Will he surprise me with a harsher response later? The greatest fear for the provocateur is not knowing the impact of their words. How do you apply it? Stop any immediate reaction. Don't smile, don't comment. Just be calm as if you didn't hear anything important. Look at the other person with a steady gaze. Not aggressive, but with something unreadable. A look that explains nothing and justifies nothing. Slowly shift your gaze away, as if you've decided the conversation is over and you're busy with something more important. Don't correct anything or try to win with words. Silence in this moment is the real victory. Ethan applied this method only once, but it was enough to create a shock in his environment, because for the first time they felt that the person in front of them was not easy to understand or easy to provoke, but something else, something they didn't want to test again. Strategy 2. Break the rhythm. After Ethan began using ambiguity in his interactions, he noticed something new. Some provocateurs don't back down easily. Instead, they try again and again, waiting for a small moment of emotional reaction from you so they can celebrate winning the round. But true mastery wasn't just in the silent response. It was in breaking the psychological rhythm the opponent tried to impose. One day, Ethan was sitting during a lunch break. A colleague known for his sarcastic style approached him. He started with seemingly friendly small talk, then suddenly launched a clearly condescending comment in front of everyone. But instead of remaining silent or reacting angrily as he used to, Ethan raised his head, gave him a cold look, then calmly said, "Nice, but you're repeating yourself a lot." A slight smile at the corner of his mouth. Then he went back to finishing his meal as if nothing had happened. An uncomfortable silence fell over the place. The colleague swallowed his words and remained speechless for moments. It was as if Ethan had detonated a small psychological bomb that confused everyone in the room. This was the moment of breaking the rhythm. Oh, why does this strategy work? People, especially provocateurs, rely on a specific pattern in conversation. They throw out a remark, await your reaction, feed off it, then continue. But when you break this rhythm, you create a kind of mental disarray for them. You move the game to a new playing field where they don't know how to act. This is what psychologists call disrupting the rhythm of control. How do you apply it? Pay attention to the intention behind the words. Is the remark spontaneous or is it a psychological trap? Discern between them before you respond. Be unpredictable. Instead of getting emotional or staying silent, respond with an ambiguous but calm sentence as if you know something they don't. Like, sometimes things aren't as they seem, or it's nice that you think so, or even just a look followed by a slight smile, then complete silence. Withdraw calmly after responding. Don't explain. Let them struggle to interpret what you said. Ethan discovered with this move that he didn't need to shout or confront directly. It was enough to change the rhythm, and his opponent would be the one who got lost. Strategic step 3. Move the game to your turf. After Ethan mastered cold ambiguity and learned how to break the provocateur's rhythm with a single sentence, he began to notice something new. People only try to provoke you if they feel they have an unannounced authority over you. Their space, their audience, their language, their comfort. And here Ethan discovered a dangerous rule. Don't attack them on their turf. Instead, make them make a mistake on yours. One day, Ethan was giving a presentation to his university colleagues. The topic was important to him. He had prepared well. But among the attendees was a student known for his sarcastic style, who loved to mock others with disguised venom. During the presentation, this student interrupted him with a sarcastic, condescending comment. Some laughed and a tense atmosphere settled, but Ethan didn't laugh or respond directly. He simply raised his head and looked at the student steadily, then calmly said, "After the presentation, I'd like a minute alone with you." He said it in a low tone, but it reached everyone. The presentation ended. Before leaving the hall, Ethan approached the student and with a slight smile asked him, "Ready?" They went to a quiet corner of the building where there was no audience and no laughter. Ethan didn't shout, he wasn't nervous, he didn't threaten. Instead, he simply said, "You're free to do things your way, but if you decide to throw your comments publicly, make sure you're ready to hear the response publicly too." Then he smiled and turned away. Why does this strategy work? Because you move the confrontation from the stage to backstage. You take the provocateur out of their safe zone, away from the audience, the laughter, the overt play, and put them in a place where they lack their usual tools. Internally, they begin to fluster because their authority was illusory, built only on your fear of responding. How do you apply it? Don't respond directly in the middle of a group. Instead, make your response delayed but felt by everyone. When you are alone with them, don't be aggressive. Be steady, clear, and calm. This is what unnerves them. Use few but powerful words, such as, "I observe and remember," or "What you said may not be easily forgotten." Ethan wasn't responding to embarrass. He was restoring the balance of respect. And from that day on, no one interrupted him in meetings. Strategy 4. Create a control gap, then fill it with your gravitas. In many situations, Ethan didn't need to respond with words. He would create a moment of strange silence. But this time, it wasn't a silence of surrender, but a silence filled with presence, gravitas, and anticipation. He would deliberately delay his response, but when he spoke, he chose his words carefully. His tone was low, but everyone who heard him felt something had changed. The atmosphere had suddenly shifted. Everyone in the room noticed a new player had entered the equation. Why does this strategy work? Because gravitas doesn't come from a lot of talking, but from the gap between the provocation and your response. When you let your opponent talk and talk without responding immediately, they start to doubt. Is he ignoring me? Is he going to explode? Is he planning something? The gap creates fear, and then when you respond with a calm, clear, powerful tone, you create a shock. How do you apply it? When someone provokes you, don't respond immediately. Wait 3 to 5 seconds. Look at them, but don't smile or raise your eyebrows. Just be steady. After this gap, respond with a short but sharp sentence, such as, "Are you done?" or Remember this sentence. You'll recall it later. This small gap makes a huge difference in your control over the situation. Strategy 5. The calm response that exposes their intentions without losing your gravitas. At the end of the week, Ethan decided to step out of his routine a bit. He accepted an invitation from old friends for a casual get-together. The gathering started normally, laughter, memories, and traditional questions. But something in the atmosphere wasn't comfortable. Some talked with excessive confidence about their travels, important meetings, and upcoming deals. Loud laughs, words covered in success, but between the lines there was boasting and veiled illusions. Ethan sat quietly, listening more than talking. When one of them noticed he hadn't participated yet, he smiled in that way Ethan knew well, the same smile that carried a hint of condescension. Then he said, "And you, Ethan, what's new with you? This year's trip to your office as usual? Or to your university?" Two people from the other corner chuckled lightly, but it was a piercing laugh. The sentence wasn't a real question, but an indirect reminder that Ethan was less than them, as if they were telling him, "Your place is still there, in the same circle. You haven't changed." In that moment, Ethan felt that old feeling return, that mixture of humiliation, anger, and hesitation to respond. But this time, he didn't fall into the trap. He calmly looked at the speaker, then said, "I don't travel much, but at least when I go to my place, I know why I'm there." Everyone fell silent. Then he added in a low voice, but his tone was enough to silence the room. "Some people travel a lot, not because they are successful, but because they can't find a place where they belong." He didn't shout, he didn't threaten, he didn't attack, but he reclaimed control of the word. Why does this strategy work? Because it exposes veiled provocation without costing you your gravitas. Because it doesn't show emotional reaction, but shows composure and awareness. And because it says, "I am present and no one is above me," not even with a veiled word. How do you apply it? Train yourself to pause briefly before responding. This silence alone is unnerving. Don't attack, instead make your words smart. Unnerving but not hurtful. Don't laugh obligingly, let your gaze be the first response. And keep your voice calm, because gravitas doesn't need a raised tone. Gravitas in response isn't about force, but about calmness. Ethan that night left the gathering knowing well that his few words were heavier than all their deals and talk. Summary of the strategies that changed Ethan's life. Now let me remind you of the most important points that changed Ethan's life. These aren't just fleeting tips, but proven psychological strategies born from real-life situations. If you remember them, you'll no longer be a victim of provocation. Instead, you'll be the one who sets the rules of the game, the one who holds control, and the one who terrifies those who try to mess with your nerves. Strategy 1. Cold ambiguity. Ethan learned that what most unnerves a provocateur is ambiguous silence. When you show no emotional reaction and don't explain your intention, the other person gets lost trying to understand you. A single, calm, steady gaze without a smile or anger, then slowly shifting your gaze away, as if you've decided what was said isn't worth your attention. This kind of silent ambiguity made Ethan seem stronger without saying a word. Strategy 2. Break the rhythm. Some provocateurs repeat their attempts repeatedly, but Ethan discovered that they could be unnerved with one unexpected sentence. A sentence that shows no anger or sarcasm, but takes them out of their usual pattern, as if you're telling them, "I know your game, and I won't play it." And when you do that, you make them lose control, and their confusion begins from within. Strategy 3. Move the game to your turf. Responding in front of people gives the provocateur their favorite audience. But Ethan changed the plan. He delayed his response to a private moment and spoke calmly and confidently. This way, he pulled the power from the stage and reset the balance of respect without shouting. When you take your opponent out of their safe zone, true gravitas begins. Strategy 4. The control gap. Ethan's gravitas didn't come from the number of his words, but from the timing of his response. Every time he faced provocation, he wouldn't respond immediately. Instead, he'd leave a short gap of silence that made everyone anticipate. then respond with a single word in a calm voice, but one that left a powerful echo. This gap between action and response made him a force to be reckoned with. Strategy 5. The calm response that exposes their intentions. When they tried to embarrass him with veiled sarcasm in front of his friends, Ethan didn't react emotionally. Instead, he used smart words that revealed their intentions. His response wasn't a defense, but a reminder that respect can't be bought with loud talk. With his calmness and composure, he made them see themselves in a mirror they didn't like to look into, and that was enough to earn their respect without asking for it. Conclusion: the beginning of a new phase. What you've just seen isn't just a video. It's a hidden message that planted something inside you without you realizing it. You might not notice it today, but the first moment someone tries to provoke you, you'll remember this calmness, these rules, and this new control. And only then will you know that you've started a different phase. Noah, if you feel this video moves something in you, leave your mark here. Hit like and subscribe to the channel and join those who decided not to be anyone's puppet. Because I'm now working on a complete psychological experiment, quietly developed behind the scenes. But it will reach you like an unforgettable volcano of awareness. Stay close, because the next phase will change the way you see everything.